Today, it's the problem with the problem. Good morning. It's Gary Hewitt. I'm here with Thought Knox, and we're talking about the problem with the problem. Now, there was a famous quote in the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. The problem with the problem isn't the problem. The problem with the problem is your attitude toward the problem. And I kind of love that quote because that says a lot. What I want to focus on is I was watching, I'm subscribed to Masterclass. This is not a promo for it or anything. I just consume content constantly and want to get it from the best sources that I can. I was watching Richard Branson, and he was talking about setting up, talking to a whole bunch of highly educated people about the drug problem, the war on drugs, and all of the people agreed the evidence is undeniable that the problem is we're fighting with the problem as opposed to solving the problem. Understanding that drug addiction is a health challenge, not a criminal thing. Yes, it leads to criminal activity, which is a problem. But fighting against the criminal activity, just like you say, his words, not mine. The statistics, the science shows clearly that that accepting the situation as a health challenge and taking the war against it out of the equation is much better for everybody involved. The problem is people tend to fight against things. In the process of fighting, there's another batch of science. And I need to start getting articles and links and everything up here. I'm getting there one step at a time. And when you fight against something, something, the people who believe the alternate side, the thing you're fighting against, will, number one, they will dig in, they will entrench themselves because they're not fighting logically. They're fighting emotionally. And when you fight emotionally and someone challenges you, or when you believe in something at a deep level, a fundamental emotional level, then when somebody challenges you, then you start to you dig in and then you just reinforce your own beliefs. You don't listen to reason. In fact, you lock out anything and everything that will listen to reason. Hence the problem with the problem, and why I don't fight for anything. It's not that I don't believe in anything. There's a lot of things I would love to do, but I want to be smart enough to do the right things to actually make a difference, to make an improvement. And fighting for things is not the right thing. So you have all kinds of people uneducated, believing that they have an answer, fighting for their cause, which is wonderful, but not necessarily not. It's wonderful that they believe that. It's wonderful that they're willing to put energy and effort into it. That's what I mean. But if they're not accomplishing success stories, if they're not moving the needle in the right direction, then you have to stop and step back and say, okay, what does make a difference? How do we solve this problem? What's the real root cause? What's the thing that's going to make the difference here? That's what I want to stay focused on, finding out, solutions and getting people that otherwise wouldn't understand the issue to understand it. Now, here's an example. We had a guest on the other day. We were testing the new studio. We had a guest on, and they didn't have headphones. Now, I mean, we're testing stuff. They heard themselves perfectly, right? So they didn't understand there was a problem, and we didn't understand until we listened to the recordings afterwards because we got this echo, and that's why I've got these monster truck headphones on now. When I'm in the studio by myself, I don't really need them, but when we have guests on, it's absolutely crucial. And so here you have the situation where, okay, let's say you had 10 people and you have a all 9 of them have the headphones on and one does not. 9 people will hear the echo. The one person who doesn't have headphones is the one person that won't hear the echo. So, number one, they don't see the problem, even though they're the cause of the problem. And it's not. This is not. This is a very interesting case because it's not a case of blaming them, right? Because if they don't see the problem, then what's the problem? But it's a case of where understanding this is the root cause of the problem, what the solution is, and then conveying that to someone, right? Making them realize that, oh, okay, my not wearing headphones is the source of the problem. And then, when they show up with headphones and all 10 people get echo free and we get an echo free recording. So I think that's kind of a quintessential example of how things, and you can extrapolate that to wearing masks, right? And I remember people like just insane logic. You don't wear a mask for you. A mask doesn't protect you very well at all. You wear a mask in order to protect other people because it stops your germs from propagating, right? And then again, that we've still got the COVID pandemic running around. We still got people with long COVID. I was reading an article on that this morning. It's still quite a thing, even though sort of we've let it go. We put it in the past. So there may be situations where wearing a mask not for you. It's for somebody else. But once you understand the problem that you could be conveying this, especially in situations where there's elderly or people with compromised immune systems, of which I'm one. I've had challenges all my life, so I'm very aware of how other people's actions can affect me. Um, but again, if you don't fully understand this, if you don't have empathy for other people's situations, you're not necessarily going to buy into that narrative. You can't tell me what to do, right? And hence the problem. So again, not going to fight against it. People are going to be people. They're going to do what they want to do. That's the beauty of being people. But I'm looking at how do I want to start using my voice for good things. I want to start using my voice to help solve something. Don't know what it is yet. We'll continue talking about things until something bubbles up, and seeing if I can use my tools, resources, what little I know. See if we can put that into practice somehow, some way, to help things, especially we can get something that scales. That's always kind of important to me. I've studied programming and scaling and big architectures. That's my happy place, is sitting in the Batcave writing code. Love to do that. Would love to do that in a way that changes the world for the better. We've got an epidemic of loneliness, so there's some projects I'm working on that are helping to resolve that. Looking deep into all of the connection challenges, how human beings. I love psychology. I am not a psychologist. I pretend to be one on the internet. No. I don't pretend to be one. I'm very clear that I'm not one. But I love that stuff. I read tons of psychology, which is why I understand some of the science behind how people push back, and I just absorb that stuff. Love it, because it helps me understand, first of all, my place in the universe, and then how I might use my place effectively as a voice for change, as a voice for good. So I just because I don't fight for things doesn't mean I don't believe in things. I do believe in making change. I do believe in finding the most effective way to make a change happen. Right? Is finding, to me, the path is find something better for them. Not just beat up the problem. You take homeless people, for example. There, but for the grace of God go I. There was one point in my life I was pretty damn sure I was going to be homeless. So much so that I went and sat on the street with the homeless people trying to figure out, well, okay, I've got to figure out how this works because I'm going to be here next. And you start getting a real understanding of how it is, and you always think, well, it's never going to affect me until it does. And yet our solution is to create cruel benches, to landscape the city in such a way that makes it impossible for homeless to be anywhere. So instead of finding out, what can we do for them, we're focused on how do we get rid of them. We're fighting against them. And the endemic, the systemic parts of our system that would cause people to be there. I don't think I made a lot of mistakes. I didn't make big enough, stupid enough mistakes, that might be debatable, to deserve to be on the street. But that's what I was looking at. And so, I step back and say, when I get to the point where I've solved my problems, then I want to use my voice to help solve or help get people involved in actually solving the problem, not fighting against them, actually solving these challenges. I believe every human being has a right to exist. I believe we have certain inalienable rights that should never be taken for granted, should never be taken from us. But how do we ensure that things stay that way? How do we give a voice to the people that don't have a voice, right? Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now. I just wanted to talk about the problem with the problem, and the problem. It's a lot of people. One more thing, because I see a lot of advice. I listen to a lot of advice from quote unquote gurus in the business area. And especially when it comes to corporate, here's something that has gotten into my craw for some reason. And this concept of making decisions with limited intelligence. And, now we can take that a couple different ways because there's a lot of people with limited intelligence that are running corporations. But what it's talking about is people who have small, they have access to small amounts of knowledge. They don't have the complete picture. And there's this, make a decision now because fast makes money. And I don't know, that bugs me because I'm very much a let's get it right as opposed to do it right now person. And maybe that makes me a spectacular failure in business, and so be it. I don't know that that's true, but I wonder how much bad advice is in that. Make a decision with limited understanding, simply so that you can move fast and suck up the oxygen in the room, suck up the money, and then go on to do that again with something else. So I don't have a solution for that yet. But like I say, that's something that disturbs me, which is another problem with the problem. When we get people in positions of power that can arbitrarily execute certain plans without necessarily having full knowledge or even empathy for the outcome or the wake that they're creating, in order to do what they want to do. And again, in the grand scheme of things, I may be just a pebble of sand, just an annoyance. I don't know. But I feel what I feel, and I'm going to start using my voice, however I feel it will be best. So there you go. Think about the problem with the problem. Think about your next problem and ask yourself, am I the problem with the problem? Simply because I don't fully understand it yet. The famous Einstein quote, if you had an hour to solve a problem, his answer was, well, I'd spend 55 minutes understanding it and then 5 minutes solving it. Because when you understand a problem, usually the solution starts to become clear on its own. So that's my morning rant. Be prepared for more of them. There will be more of them coming down the pipe. I just wanted to exercise the studio, exercise my voice, and try every day. It's lather, rinse, improve, repeat. So say that after me: lather, rinse, improve, repeat. So you get better. So we're trying little bits of extra stuff today. And every day I want to add one more thing to the equation and see how long it takes us to get something spectacular going here. So thank you. Love to see some comments. And if not, that's okay. I'm going to keep talking anyway because that's what all the gurus say you have to do is just go on. You start dancing long before anybody realizes there's a dance going on. Eventually people will catch up. So we will get there. All right. Have yourself an absolutely wonderful day, and we'll see you in the funny papers, as they say. All right. Take care.